Thanks, Ms. Sullivan. I just want to assure you we're going to make every effort to hold violent criminals accountable. Most of my career was involved in law enforcement. I am in favor of law-abiding citizens, including, or maybe most especially, women, having those rights enforced. Second Amendment is the law of the land. And we're not having a hearing on defunding the police because I'm against defunding the police. I am in favor of providing more resources that would provide for both public safety and justice. We're not going to have a hearing on lax prosecutors because I am against lax prosecution, as is demonstrated by my record as United States Attorney, Chief Federal Prosecutor, as well as Attorney General. So I appreciate a number of the points that you have made, and we are having this hearing to consider many of the points that you have made, but also the rights of victims and survivors to be protected. If we can do better in protecting them through a law that eliminates loopholes or gaps in that protection, we're going to do it. Thank you for being here today. Let me turn to Casey Mason. You've just heard the argument that nothing would have prevented your sister's death. I feel that this law might well have done so. And there's no knowing with certainty all of what might have happened and what might have been done. But tell me what you feel and how you react to that statement.
I obviously disagree. I think that it would have made a difference. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I'm just like a little emotional right now.
Thank you. Ms. Valenti, perhaps you could respond.
Yes, I'd be happy to. I think that this bill would have made an enormous difference. The most dangerous time, as you mentioned earlier, Senator, is when someone leaves a domestic violence situation. And during that time, they often reach out for a temporary protection order, an emergency protection order, whatever it's called. This is injunctive relief that's offered for a temporary period of time until a full hearing can be scheduled. If that time period also includes relinquishing firearms on the part of an abuser who has shown themselves to be violent, this is absolutely the right thing to do. Most temporary protection orders last for 14 days at most. And during that time period, the court is balancing findings of fact that show extreme violence against whether or not someone losing possession, not ownership, but possession of their firearms for 14 days would be a hardship. That would have made an incredible difference. That would have stopped him in his tracks. And I feel heartbroken to think that this law has not yet become federal law.
I am heartbroken too, and I appreciate the courage and strength of his family in coming forward and providing a face and a voice for a tragic loss that might well have been avoided. Let me ask you, Ms. Valenti, in reviewing this legislation, and also in your experience, do these laws, including the one before us now, proposed, provide due process rights? That is, an opportunity to be heard before anybody separates that person from a firearm?
It does protect due process. And this law was actually written with a very important language in there that has already been time-tested and has already been litigated. It's language from the Full Faith and Credit Act, which is also something that came from VAWA in 1994. And that requires the enforcement of temporary protection orders. And what it says is, when a temporary order is issued, upon service of that order on the respondent, and notice an opportunity to be heard being scheduled within a reasonable time period, due process is afforded. Case law stands absolutely clear on this. Injunctive relief is temporary. It is done to avoid irreparable harm. There is no more irreparable harm than the loss of a life.
Thank you. We're going to have 5-minute rounds of questioning, and just so the witnesses know, we have a vote that's ongoing right now, so we may be taking a recess. I hope not, because a number of my colleagues are here, and they can take the gavel while I go vote, so we'll do do our questions in tandem. I'm going to turn to the ranking member. We'll probably have another round of questioning. I have additional questions, but in the interests of my colleagues, I'll turn to the ranking member.